Hi, this is Phil Hinton. Welcome to another video here on avforums.tv, and we got a real treat from you. We got Buzz Luhrmann, Oliver Stone, and Michael Mann, and they're going to talk Blu-ray.
I'm Mike Dunn from 20th Century Fox, and we are thrilled to have everybody here today. This is our inaugural directors panel at CES, presented by 20th Century Fox. I'd like to thank our friends at Panasonic for this incredible booth and all the technology you've invented in order for us to show great content today. It's my pleasure now to introduce Jim Giannopoulos, Chairman and CEO of Fox Film Entertainment. There you go, Jim.
Thank you, Mike. Hi, guys. I'm going to try out my my new teleprompter act, because where else would I do it? I'm going to keep this brief because you didn't come to hear me, and I've learned that it's always best to defer to the voices of great filmmakers, and the gentlemen who are here on the panel today are among the best and very brightest in our history. Films like Michael Mann's Last of the Mohicans and Oliver Stone's Wall Street and its recent sequel, Money Never Sleeps, and Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet and Moulin Rouge in Australia. They're all among the most stellar moments in the 75 years of the studio's history that we're celebrating this year. And all these filmmakers have a unique vision and creative genius that's all their own, but they also have common characteristics that define their talents. They are, of course, great storytellers, but they're also artists and craftsmen and technicians and magicians, and they're all talents embodied in one person who pulls together the story and the actors and the technology and the sound and all the things that are the fabric of great films. And above all, they're people who sweat the details because the details matter, and trust me, these guys really do. From the initial concept through development and photography and shooting and post-production, through all the long journey of a film's life, they ensure that every aspect of the film reflects their vision in its most perfect form. The photography, the lighting, the shadows, the colors, every note of the music where it's heard, the silence where it isn't, the sounds from clinking of glasses to thundering hooves and roaring engines, and of course all those amazing effects that allow them to create images we've never thought possible. And then when their films make the journey from the theater to the home and other devices, they continue working to format them and to ensure that the best possible version is seen on every screen on which it appears. And what's abundantly clear here at CES is those screens are getting both bigger and smaller than ever before. And so while we're here surrounded by what's new and next in consumer electronics, particularly in display technology and especially in the kind delivered by Panasonic, we're all here to talk about how great directors' achievements can make their way to these screens. And for us, it's our mission to ensure that that vision and their talented efforts are faithfully conveyed through every media, whether it's mounted on the wall of our living rooms or held in the palm of our hands. And while consumers have an increasing choice in how they see their films, as you'll hear, there's no better way to enjoy film and entertainment outside the theater than on Blu-ray. I really tried to resist this little bit of geekdom, but Blu-ray delivers 25 megabits per second and up to 40 megabits per second. I didn't know what that meant until they explained to me that a high-def TV is 10 and streaming is 2 to 4. Andy says it's even less. So when you compare that visual acuity and that capability of delivering what these guys created, you get the idea. Blu-ray is light years ahead of any other delivery system. So take a look around and you'll see how quickly technology allows us to open these doors and make possible delivering the sound quality and picture quality outside the theater. And this high-definition revolution continues to allow consumers to enjoy movies in their living rooms the way these guys intended. Don't take it from me, I'm just the studio guy. You should hear it from them. I'd like to introduce you to Baz Luhrmann, Oliver Stone, and Michael Mann. Come on out, guys. And Mr. Boucher, Jeff Boucher of the LA Times, will moderate the panel. So, hey Jeff, it's up to you.
Hey, how's it going? Yes. I think I'm here.
Somebody need it?
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
I think I'm here.
Down there?
I'm meant to be furthest left.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Hello, Las Vegas. How's everybody today? Well, it's fantastic to look up here and see these guys. I mean, this conference is about innovation and imagination. It's about high-definition visions. And here on this stage, it's about high-definition visionaries. These are three of the signature filmmakers at work right now, and it's just a treat to have them here. So let's just get right into it. We're going to show some clips at one point, but first I wanted to ask you guys each a brief question. You know, when you consider Blu-ray, there's so many things that people talk about with it. Some people talk about the extras, some people talk about the clarity, the different options it gives you to present your work in a deeper, more archival, meaningful way. Just real briefly, a little bit from you guys, what does Blu-ray mean to you? What excites you when you consider the format? Mr. Mann?
You gotta hold my water for me.
I'll hold Michael Mann's water.
You know, it has more space and it has more bit rate. And what that means is that everything, it's the premier format to reproduce all the work we do. The decisions that all of us make about detail, about color, about how dense a background should be with extras, whether we want to direct the audience's attention to something in the foreground that has such immense detail you feel you're right there. All of those aspects in the visual medium, Blu-ray not just does a better job, it does a better job by about a factor of 12 or 13. And it's going to probably, I believe, it's probably going to sustain itself as the premier format, meaning the best reproduction format for the next, for a good number of years, 6, 7, or 8 years from now.
And Oliver, it provides us with a way to preserve the past as well. And can you talk a little bit about that? You mentioned the sort of history of films.
Well, I've never seen movies. It's like having a print at home. And if you're a film, going back to the old days, if you're a film student in the 60s or 70s, to have a print that looks so good at home, it's a dream. Not only is the print at home, but it's also usually better than the old print. If you compare, Criterion Classics is great, but Criterion does a great job, but look at Blu-ray compared to it, there's no comparison. I recently looked at Red Desert and Contempt by Godard. And those films in the 60s, Red Desert and Contempt, were amazing. They popped off the screen. It was, frankly, better than many movie theaters, although movie theaters have improved. So I have a ball with Blu-ray. It looks great. It's a movie theater in your own home, no question.
And Baz, you and I were talking backstage about how wonderful it would be if you could go back into history and get a director to talk about a film, a classic film. What director would you want to hear a commentary from? And you didn't even have to think about it when I asked you that.
I did say, Orson Welles would be worth the price of admission, talking on anything. But yeah, I mean, actually, Blu-ray for me, that question, Jeff, I mean, it's better, and that's just a given. I mean, in the days when I first got a cassette player, Sony made them. I know we're on the Panasonic stand, but Sony invented this thing called the Walkman, and you got a Walkman cassette, and you put it on, you thought, that is incredible. And then someone gave you a CD. It was a new world. But I think what's really been exciting for me, specific to these films, is that when I made the Red Curtain trilogy, we tried to ape 3-stripe Technicolor, old MGM color. We tried to get there. And to be honest with you, it was only a pretense. We couldn't do it. When I went back into Blu-ray, Jan Jablaka, who's an absolutely gifted colorist, and he's just done Fight Club, and he did the Godfather movies, Jan spent 1,000 hours, and I spent 100, just shows who does all the real work, rebuilding from the negative in pursuit of a tricolor look. And I can honestly say, if you want to see Moulin Rouge or Romeo and Juliet in the way that I had dreamed to see it, please rush out and buy the newly released Blu-ray. And I happen to have one here. If you look under your seats, everyone's going to go away. No, but really, it's how I had dreamed the films would be. And so to me, that's a gift that, was rare.
Outstanding. And what a great segue and plug. Yes, everybody buy two, right? Let's actually take a look at some footage from Romeo and Juliet, and then we'll talk a little bit about that. So let's...
Sure. I was actually... I'm a director, so I can't help but... Because the cue was... I know the guys backstage want to hear, why don't we see the fish tank scene? See how the lights went out? Wasn't that magic? Thank you. Actually looking at it, I think it's still the reds are a little bit still too. I mean, might have to just one tweak and I'm done. Honestly, I'm just kidding, Jim. Sort of, not really.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit, and you have some more clips, is that right? You have some other clips from...
Yeah, I do.
Why don't you run through them for us?
Sure. You want me to show the next clip? Or?
Well, why don't you set it up for us?
Well, it's in a film called Moulin Rouge. And, funnily enough, I'm just riffing this up, but that was an attempt, and it kind of speaks to Blu-ray, because I had this great love as a child, growing up in the middle of nowhere, of crazy old movies that no one cared about, like Top Hat or The Red Shoes, musicals. And that's where that kind of love of that color palette came from. So when I tried to contribute a little bit towards the idea of bringing the musical back, it explains why we were seeking to use both old techniques and new techniques. We are going to fight with that booth over there. That must be the opposition. And so... Are we doing some sound effects work next door? Anyway, the bottom line about it is, just very quickly, is that in both the shooting of Moulin Rouge, in using old models, in blending that with digital technology, we were blending the two things. So I guess once again, we can play the Elephant Love medley, and it's just an expression, again, trying to do it in an MGM style, really.
Yeah. But a life without love, that's terrible.
That monitor is a little bit heavier in the blacks than that one. It's just a small point. And I believe this one's worth $500,000. Why did we see on that one? Another point, sorry.
Baz, when you're making a film now, how early in the process do you start thinking about the DVD, or the Blu-ray, I should say, sorry?
That's a really good question, because that really has changed. I mean, I have always been a DVD, Blu-ray, now Blu-ray nut, because I think they're like, you can have a relationship with a film and never want to know anything more about it. But to me, great movies are like people. If you have a connection with them, you want to have deeper relationships with them, more and more layers. And what we obsess about, my whole team works on our Blu-rays. We do everything, the menus, the packaging. We work with a brilliant team at Fox. They're so supportive of this at Fox Home End. And now I have a full unit that just works alongside of us doing that. Now, there might be some at Fox who think I shoot scenes just so there's some extras for the DVD. That is not true. I only ever shoot what I need. However, I've learned so much myself from going behind the curtain, going backstage in the life of a film, through those increasingly sophisticated extras on DVDs. And I love them. And with these great masters I'm sitting next to here, seeing the DVD extras of their films. I mean, those experiences, they're the things I really look forward to doing.
That's fantastic. Now, talking about relationships and revisiting things, Wall Street is a classic moment in American filmmaking, a classic part of American culture for what it represented. And we're going to take a look at two clips now, one from Wall Street Past and one from Wall Street Contemporary, and then we're going to talk a little bit about that.
I am not a destroyer of companies. I am a liberator of them. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. greed works.
You know, Oliver, before we talk a little bit about Blu-ray and the way that it helps present and preserve things like color and motion and things like that in the film, I have to ask you what it was like for you emotionally to go back to Wall Street and reconnect with a film that was such a signature moment for you.
It's the best experience you can have. I would suggest don't do any sequels for 23 years, because then you really get back there. The actor looks like 100 years older. No, it's great. It's really fun because you really get perspective, you know, and you're doing it for another reason. The world had changed, and you see the differences. I mean, both films are shot definitely in a slick style. That was the intention, but the harder edges of the 2010 period. But you see the water. I love that. You see if you really, unfortunately, as Baz says, there's too much light in the room, but you really, at your home, can see the water, and you can see New Jersey, and you can see the leaves, and you can see the fall, and you feel the fall, and it's a classic one-time experience, and you don't get that. You don't get that in anything else but Blu-ray, frankly.
Yeah, and you know, when we were backstage, we were talking about one of your films, Heaven and Earth, and the colors in it, and it was interesting to hear sort of the excitement that came into your voice when you're talking about particular colors in the screen and stuff. And it must be nice to have Blu-ray to, as you're saying, to sort of present that to people.
I think color is, for me, every director has their. Certainly, Baz is a color freak, I can tell. But I love color, and I love reds, and I love the green. The greens here were beautiful. Your blues were beautiful. It's hard to get. It's really hard to get that sense. I mean, the production designer has a great deal to do with it, but even the browns and the tans of the 1987 movie, you see the walls, you see the tapestry we used. I think color makes the movie. It's the way it speaks. Of course, we should mention sound, but Blu-ray sound is great. It's beyond doubt. Not in here. The greens I love the best, though. The greens from the old the Central Park from the.
And do you have any, as far as some people like doing director commentary, some people don't enjoy it too much. Is that something that appeals to you, the process, or do you find?
I think it's the last shot we have. No one has to listen to it, but you lay down your sidetrack and you say whatever you got to say, make your piece, and let it go. And frankly, in the future, there might be an alien race that digs it, and I'm all for it. I put my heart into it. I always did, and I really try to make it a combination of information and at the same time express some of my own innermost feelings and pleasures.
Fantastic. And then we're going to move on now to our final clip. And Michael, did you want to introduce a little bit about what we're going to see? This is The Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah, we're going to see a clip from the end of Last of the Mohicans, and what might relate to Blu-ray. Of course, when I shot it, there wasn't Blu-ray. So it was photochemical, and but what was important was how you felt about the picture and how you felt about these people's lives was the sense of the endless frontier, the sense that the frontier is kind of a twilight zone between the way their lives had been and the way their lives are going to be in the future, and so the whole challenge for me was to try and place audience inside their experience and locate them there. So the rendition in fine detail, as well as the color, and also the vast expanse of the real estate, if you like, was affected every decision we made. So
outstanding. Well, let's roll the clip from The Last Mohicans. You know, it's such powerful storytelling. First of all, I mean, it's an extraordinary movie and like one of the great Blu-ray releases in recent years. Quite honestly, watching that film again on Blu-ray. You know, so many people use vistas and landscapes as backdrops, but it seemed to me in this film it's really a character. The way that you use the environments that they're in is very interesting. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, as I said earlier, the notion is the frontier, and it's what's ahead of them. What's ahead of basically the last Mohican, who's Chingachgook, played by the incredible Russell Means, and Hawkeye and Cora at the end looking into their future. She's made a huge transition in her perspective. Her character's gone through a big arc, but it had to do with both the detail of what it really has to do with is do you believe it? And I think that visually we are much smarter than we in fact realize. Whether it's the visual cortex or the amygdala of our brains, it takes in stimuli and processes it, and there's an emotional reaction or intuitive reaction to this is truth or this isn't or this is fabrication, but I'll go along with it. And the amount of detail to make you believe that something's happening then at least carries me emotionally along with it. And that's one of the huge benefits to me of Blu-ray. When we did this is before CGI, so everything in the film, including some of the fort scenes, everything was done for real, and with large numbers of people, and great attention was spent on getting everything right down to the braiding of an officer's coat. So you really felt this really was this. There's a certain aristocratic bearing to General Montcalm, for example, and it had to do with being true to the way the wardrobe is rendered, and your brain, I think, is perceiving things that you cognizantly aren't even aware of, and that all gets down to something as technical as megabits per second, and how much resolution is there, what's the diameter of the pipeline, and how fast could you pump that X amount of information per second through it, and I'm not a technical person, but the bigger the pipeline, the faster you could put bit rates through it. That's the bit rate. It really delivers the veracity that makes an experience like this work. At least that's how I react to it. Actually, Kubrick, I was doing some journalistic writing in 67, just before 2001 came out, and I interviewed him, and I said, I'm going to go see 2001, where should I sit? And it was the old Cinerama Theater in London on Old Compton Street, and he said, you should sit in one of 4 seats. There are 4 seats in the theater. You have to sit. If you can't get to one of those 4 seats, don't see the movie, because it places you right in the center, and the edges of the screen move off into your peripheral vision, and that immerses you in it. Anything else doesn't. So to me, that's really it. It's about being immersed.
And it's interesting too, because in this day and age, you can watch a movie on a telephone, or there's a lot of movie theaters where the sound's not very good, the light's not very good, or the screen's not the right size. But for you guys, Michael, I would imagine that this really does give you guys the kind of control that you probably really long for, because these artistic statements that we call movies take several years of your life.
Right.
Do you find it very satisfying to go back with something like Last of the Mohicans and put together this thing that you can say, this is what I meant?
I do. I go back at every opportunity I can to go back and correct that mistake or the other mistake or what I can consider to be improving it. I do. And also, as Oliver was talking about, and Baz was also speaking about, it becomes such an experience making one of these. And you don't easily forget it, and the people who worked on it with you become veterans of something that you did together. And to be able to have some of the materials of what went into it. The fort in the movie we built for real on 40 acres. And so when you North Carolina, up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and so when to actually make it come alive, it's kind of an industrial, it's kind of a 19th century handmade industrial product that people, their crafts, their skills, made it, and I'm always kind of humbled by the skill of all of the folks who work on a film, and to be able to have those extras and kind of dwell on what that experience was, I think it's valuable.
Michael said that he's not really a technical person. That's sort of interesting because what you guys do is a combination of art and technology in so many ways, and it's becoming even more technical now. It seems to me that with all the new opportunities, there's also new challenges. A question for each of you guys, maybe starting with Michael, is, do you feel a real sense of optimism about the future and all the different opportunities, or do you at times feel a little like it's taking you away from your primary mission of telling a good story and just trying to keep up with everything?
I love it. I love it. I mean, the more advanced it gets, the bigger the screens, the more resolution is possible. The colors, 3D. I find I would probably shoot, I don't know, a dialogue, if it's a pure dialogue drama, I would shoot in 3D.
No, I watching my children and friends look at a computer screen with movie, with the lights on, with interruptions, trying to multitask, is very depressing to people like me. And now my daughter had a phone the other day, and I find it literally sad. I mean, it's the end of I feel like we are the last of the Mohicans in a way, and this is a fitting film to show because this is really. I'm not knocking the future. You're all going into the future. This is all wonderful, and 3D is great. But this is a moment in time when this is about film preservation. And this is what, this is, as Baz and Michael said, this takes the old films made up till today and preserves it in a form. It's the last hardware. It's the best of the last hardware. There won't be any other hardware now. It's going to be on a digital phone, or it's going to be on a computer or on a TV screen, but it'll be stored, but you will never have access to it and physically hold it in your hand like a book, or like a vinyl record, or like a comic book, or I remember baseball cards, they all said that was going out. But baseball cards are worth a lot more today than they were in the 1950s when I was collecting them. The same is true about comics. I say, let's be different, go against the grain, collect. I'd love to collect hundreds and hundreds of Blu-rays because that will be a very valuable collection in 2050. I really believe that.
What about you, Baz? When you look at the scene now and you look to the future, do you find excitement or anxiety or a mixture of both?
I know. No, I'm fantastically excited, and I think actually sort of things completely change and then they don't change at all. Because in the end, and by the way, I agree with exactly what Michael and Oliver has just said about preservation is a very interesting thing. Because the only thing I would identify, having worked with Jan Jablaka, is the power of the instrument of Blu-ray is so great that I think you have to be a bit conscious about misusing it. Like, I see what I've just seen up here, and it's a wonderful thing to see two of these remarkable films, and to see them on Blu-ray, and you go, I love to revisit that friend and deepen that relationship and see them so beautifully done. Some Blu-ray work, that friend goes away and is treated in Blu-ray, and it's a bit like they've had too much surgery and you don't recognize who they are anymore, And you sort of go, it's a relationship I think you've got to be very careful about as you go through, because the power of the instrument, you can completely change films. You can make them unrecognizable. And the other quick thing I'll say is that Jan was working on Wizard of Oz, and the resolution is so strong, they suddenly could see the strings, with the monkeys. Yeah. Like, they uncovered the strings that held the monkeys up. And the question that Jan had to answer, and it's a very good one, was, well, now I can see the strings. You never could when you saw the print of the film because we're reflective. The director's not around. Does he take the strings out? Does he make an adjustment? Does he leave it in? Are you trying to recreate your memory of that film? Are you trying to recreate your experience? So there's a whole lot of new questions that powerful technology brings forth, I think. But I'm just really excited. I mean, in the end, fundamentally it's storytelling, and it's just a whole new bunch of toys to, it's like, just like, Toulouse-Lautrec goes, cardboard. I'm going to start painting on that. That'll be interesting,
Fantastic. Well, one thing about Blu-ray is we do know that it is a pure tool to hear the voice of the director, and there are very few directors that you would want to listen to more than the three here today. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. Thank you guys for your time and attention.